Hello, I'm Maria Barantini, Pastoral Associate of Children's Catechesis at Prince of Peace. In today's video, I'm going to answer some frequently asked questions that come across my desk at the church. These are all sorts of questions that have to do with religious education, homeschooling, First Holy Communion, and confirmation. There might be a question that you've always had and wanted an answer to, so I recommend watching the video in its entirety and hopefully it'll answer your question. And if it doesn't, you can always email me and ask your question. I am always here to answer questions, and I try to get back to people as quickly as I possibly can if I know the answer, and if I don't know the answer, then I research the answer and then get back to you. So our first question number 1 is, how do we get our children involved in religious education, CCD, at Prince of Peace? Registration forms are available in May each year and should be returned to me as soon as possible. You can get those registration forms by stopping by the church office when we're open regularly. You can find them on our website, and you can always email me separately and say, I'd like a registration form for religious education. I need those forms back as soon as possible. Classes normally begin in late August, so please register your families early so we have enough workbooks ordered. I usually place a workbook order in June or earlier based on numbers from the previous year, but if I have additional kids, I have to order additional workbooks late. This helps us with planning, and it helps us make name tags and get kids in the right classes, and it's really helpful if you register early. We're limited on the number of spots based on classroom space and number of volunteer catechists, so I need all of that information as early as you possibly can give it. Question number 2. When do students start attending religious education at Prince of Peace? Classes actually start at K5. So we have a K5 class, and then we go up from there. We do not have classes available for anyone younger than K5 at this time. Any student K5 and up can join us for RE as long as your family is a registered parishioner of Prince of Peace. And you can register at our parish by finding Become a Member on our church website or stopping by the church and registering in person. When do classes meet? Well, our classes meet Sundays from 8:50 to 9:50 during the school year. We generally follow Greenville County's school calendar with some minor differences. A calendar for RE should be available in early August, hopefully earlier. I've started to set things in motion for next year, but I want to wait to release that calendar for a little bit. Why are there fees, and what are they used for? This is a very frequent question that I get, and I would like to explain it here. Fees are used to pay the cost associated with the workbooks for RE and additional supplemental books that some of our classes use, and then additional supplies. And supplies can include anything from copies to crayons to construction paper to the RE bags that we use to any cups, paper, napkins, anything that would be needed, so our teachers aren't putting their own money out. Our volunteer teachers are not putting their own money out. I try to make sure that those crayons and construction papers and pencil boxes are all paid for through those fees that you pay. Fees for First Holy Communion are used to pay for the retreat and the reception. Fees for confirmation are used for the Chosen Curriculum book, which the Chosen Curriculum book is approximately $40 per student. And that includes a packet that has 3 different books in it, one for the sponsor, the parent, and the student. And that's also with shipping. So it's about $40 for that book. The confirmation fee also pays for the retreats and the reception for them, for the confirmation mass. Normally, the amount we bring in fees does not fully pay for the cost associated with RE, confirmation, and First Holy Communion. It only pays a small portion, and the rest of it comes out of our budget for religious education. So those fees help pay for those things, but they don't fully pay for those things. and it's helping the church by paying for those fees, especially in the case of workbooks, because those are our most expensive cost. Number 5, what are the requirements for First Holy Communion at Prince of Peace? The Diocese of Charleston requires 2 years of preparation for the sacrament of First Holy Communion. Usually that means beginning in first grade. So your child is normally required to start in first grade. And then in their second year of preparation, traditionally second grade, a parent must participate in the mandatory meetings. There's 2 a year. The students must attend First Confession, they must attend the mandatory First Holy Communion retreat, and pass the First Holy Communion test. Sunday Mass attendance is a necessary part of First Holy Communion. It's very, very important that our families are attending Mass regularly. Number 6, what are the requirements for confirmation? The Diocese of Charleston requires 2 years of preparation for the sacrament of confirmation, as the same as with First Holy Communion. This usually at Prince of Peace means beginning in 7th grade. So in 7th grade, they start their preparation, and it's especially important to get them there. We call this year 1 of confirmation. In year 2 of confirmation, a parent must participate in the 2 mandatory meetings. The student must attend the mandatory confirmation retreat. They must complete service hours. They must go to confession with the whole group whenever that's scheduled during the spring, and they too must pass a confirmation test. They also must do a saint presentation about their confirmation saint that they've chosen. Mass attendance is required, and we do make them sign in on a sign-in board so we know that they're there. Question number 7 that I get is, why should my children or child participate in religious education after receiving their First Holy Communion? I want you to imagine your child stopping learning math after the 2nd grade. And then years later, they try to pick up 7th grade math without any of those building blocks they needed to learn to understand 7th grade math. The same is true for religious education. If your child only has a 2nd grade knowledge of the Catholic faith and returns to class in 7th grade to receive confirmation, they will be at a significant disadvantage compared to their peers that have attended each and every year in between. Oftentimes, when a student disappears for 4 years and returns in 7th grade, the teacher has to spend a significant amount of time reteaching basic materials versus new material. So then both the student that didn't participate for years and the students that have been participating are all left at a disadvantage because time is focused on things that they should have learned in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. It's very important that your children participate all the years for religious education because it helps build those blocks and it helps us help you as parents teach the faith. We're there to help you teach the faith. Number 8. Does Prince of Peace Religious Education offer special needs classes or accommodations for students with special needs or IEPs or any of those type of things? We do have a volunteer catechist trained to work with students with special needs. She's absolutely fabulous with all of our students and works to develop a system that works for each child. It depends on each child. Each child is different. I also do my best to make accommodations in the classes as needs arise. For example, if I have a student in a First Holy Communion class that needs a test read aloud in a separate class, we can make arrangements for that student to have that done. If we need to take more time on a particular thing with a child, we can do that. If there is a need, please let me know, and I'd be happy to work with each and every family individually. I have a heart for helping students because I myself was diagnosed with a learning disability at a very young age. I know what it's like. I know that individualized help is necessary sometimes, and I really do my best to help each and every student learn about the faith in the way that helps them. And I would be happy to work with your child and your family in those situations, and we'll come up with a plan together. Question number 9. What about homeschool students? How do they get their sacraments? Well, depending on the family, some families choose to join RE just for the sacramental years, just so they can get to know their peers and participate in the in-class discussions. Others continue to teach their children at home during the sacramental years. Either choice is fine. I just need to know that a child is preparing at home. So I need paperwork filled out that says homeschool on it. And I need to know that your child exists so I can start prepping for that situation. The students still need to fulfill all the requirements. So registration forms need to be turned in on the due date. Participating in the retreat is necessary. Taking the test is necessary. Going to confession with a larger group, if possible, is necessary. If it's for confirmation, they need to complete the service hours and do their saint presentation. Please make sure I know you are homeschooling your children in a sacramental year in the early fall. The earlier I know, the better I can plan and better to help you. What about in an extraordinary form, First Holy Communion? I need you to please contact me directly via email or a phone call so I can make arrangements with your family on an individual basis. If we have several students desiring an extraordinary form Holy Communion, we try to have them all do it on the same weekend, generally the first weekend of the month in the spring, at some point there. But we like to have those scheduled on the calendar, and I like to see how many we have and if it's better to do a group or just do individual sessions for the extraordinary form First Holy Communion. So please just reach out and I'll help you do that. Question number 11. We just moved to the area. Can we join religious education late at Prince of Peace? First off, I want to welcome you to the area. My family are transplants to the south, and we love it here and love our parish very much. The answer to this question is complicated, and it really depends on when you move to the area. If your child was participating in religious education elsewhere in a different state, in a different city, and it is a sacramental year for your child, I will do my best to get them in a classroom as soon as you contact me. So that's one of your first steps, is contacting me. If it's after November, we will need to decide on a case-by-case basis for any other grades other than second grade and 7th, 8th grade, depending on the situation. After November, we've missed a lot of the year, but I can still add people depending on our class sizes, because sometimes I have a class that's smaller. Sometimes I have a class that I've used all the desks in the entire room, and I can't add any more students as much as I would love to do so. So just reach out to me, and I work with families all the time in situations where they have moved here all of a sudden and they need help getting settled. So please just reach out to me via a phone call or an email. Email right now is the best way to get in touch with me. Excuse me for coughing. What about my teen who never got sacraments? What do we do now? We can still get your child sacraments if they're a teen. It's going to depend on the age of the student and what grade they are in. We have a couple different options. One option is for students in grades, any grade under 8th grade, we can have them join a class called RCIC, and they will participate in 2 years of class before receiving their first Holy Communion. Then they can prepare for confirmation in the years that follow that event. It's going to depend on each individual case, and I evaluate those individually. For students that are 8th grade and older, we have the option of them joining RCIA, which is for adults. So you have to keep that in mind. They have to be mature enough to handle an adult class because it meets on Tuesday nights. It's different than RCIC, where it's anyone younger. and it's a good spot for mature older students. So ninth grade and up is usually what we like to cap it at for RCIA, but we can evaluate that on an individual basis if your child is mature enough to handle that situation. Lastly, the last question that I get frequently is, do you offer classes in Spanish? And sadly, at this time, we do not offer any classes in Spanish. However, I can order some of our books in Spanish if it's requested in advance. I just need to know that I need to do that for our students. And if you tell me ahead of time, I'm glad to do that because your fees pay for that book. We do have some supplemental resources that we can recommend in Spanish for our parish using our parish formed account for those students preparing for First Holy Communion, for example. Formed is a great resource for all of us to use, and we can supplement some of those Spanish materials using Formed. And I do have some people that I can reach out to if we need to handle some Spanish language teaching if necessary. I can get some help. I just need to know ahead of time that I need to ask different individuals to help out with those things. I look forward to working with all of you, and if you have any additional questions, I am more than happy to answer them at any time. Please reach out and email me. You can find my email address on the parish website. Thank you very much. Have a good day.